I wanted to let y'all know, thank you for watching. Subscribe and like, and help me to make this channel big so I can make a lot more videos and do it full time. Anyway, here, let's get into it. So today, we are going to be looking at servers and the different types. So in my network, I have so with my equipment, my network and stuff, I'm doing something very different. What I'm doing is, if you look, give me just a second. If you look right here, I have 3 computers on this side, right? Okay. And on the over here, you have this one that's by itself right here. This one here. If you notice, it's by itself. That's because it is a server. Okay, so these 3 over here are called workstations. Well, one of them is my computer, and the other 2 are workstations, Dell T3600s. See my first video for a review of those. This is actually a physical server. I have, I believe now, 2 servers, two machines running on that server. One of them is TrueNAS, which is my NAS server, as I've told you in other videos that's what I'm running. And I take all these videos when I'm in the process of editing. I'll create a folder in the TrueNAS, which I am going to do a video on that so I can show you how it's laid out and how I did it. Well, or about how I did it. I took in that, if you go to here, I'll show you here, and just right now I'll just show it to you. So if you look down here, you can see I have a NAS, and then here's all of my video stuff within that drive. And it's actually 4 drives and a RAID 5, which is a stripe configuration. So today I'm going to be going over different types of servers. I'm going to do 3 different types, and I'm going to explain kind of what they are, what they do, and those kind of things. Okay, let's get into it then. So I want to explain what does a server do. So a server is a computer. That's all it is. It is the software and the purpose that it serves. That's what makes the difference. That's what determines what it actually is and what it's doing. So for instance, my server, okay, let me pull my picture back up again if I've still got it. Okay, this server it's a Dell T410. That is my server. I can put a link to it in the description if I want to. I'll make a note of that so that I can do it, so that I do it. That server has 2 virtual machines on it. So technically, if you wanted to, you could have that server, right? You could have that server, and then you could have virtual servers running inside of that machine. So, but today, I mean, those are server platforms, so physical and virtual. So today we're not going to be looking at that. Very close. I mean, we're going to get into it a little bit, but not deep. I would like to go deeper later on, though. So, okay. So what does a server do? I don't know if any of you have asked that question. You've heard computers, servers. What's the difference? The difference is the purpose they serve. A computer like your desktop or your laptop serves the purpose that you need it to serve, right? So it serves you. A server is a little different. It serves a group of clients. So for instance, if you look here, I'll just show you. If you look over there, see, you can see that one right there. That's my server. Then I have another one right there. So that server is running. And I have another one there too. There was one, the HP one. This one right there. Where is it? Right there. That one runs my firewall. So I have a content filter firewall that's running on that HP, and then I have the Dell T410. I can't remember what it's a Mini ProLiant, but I can't remember the model number. I don't recall. But I'm running that, and then I have a Dell R710, I believe, is the server that you saw on the bottom with the yellow light on it. or amber, whatever color that is. So that server is running VMware ESXi 6.7. That's what it is. The bottom one was supposed to be running that, but it won't anymore. It's saying that it's not compatible, so I couldn't use it. So I just spooled it up on that one and run on the Dell T410 and just ran that as a server. So the difference, here's the difference. A server, in my case, in this instance that you see on my desktop, it is running a virtual machine that serves the clients. That is what a server does. It provides a service to a client or more than one client. It's typically more. This could be a file server. It could be a print server, DNS server, DHCP server. It could be any of those things. DNS provides lookup. So it does. So I'll get in that in a little bit. So depends on the needs of your organization. Whatever at your house, you probably don't need what I have. I mean, I'm overkilling it quite a bit. But hey, that's what you do. When you're a nerd, that's what we do. We overkill everything. So it can be any computer running software. So that server I have, the little one, the HP ProLiant, is a mini server. It's about this big, about yay wide, and it's got a dual NIC in the back. It actually has no, that one just has 2 ports, but so that's what it does in my case. I have the other machine that it's running is a Windows 10 machine with, I think, 8 gig of RAM. And it's running my Unify controller. I know it's a little bit of a waste of resources, but hey, I got 64 gig of RAM on it, and it does the job very well. It works really well. It's fast, it's smooth, it's quick. It's everything that I need it to be. So, servers also, to let y'all know, have most of the time very little human interaction as well. So if you think about it, a server, once it's set up, you pretty much just walk away. The only maintenance you have, I mean, really the only interaction you have is when you do updates or something like that. So that's kind of the way that works. So point 2, what is a server's purpose? A server's purpose within my LAN network is to provide services to all my clients to the LAN network. The server collects data and sends it to clients, or it responds to clients' requests as well. So let's say that my machine, when I first set up my file server, so I set up TrueNAS, and I said, okay, I want to have a pool of storage. So I have, I think it's 1.5 terabytes I took from those drives. The RAID 5. I think it's 2.7 terabytes or something. The R710, I think I'm going to do it on that one. The only issue is I don't have enough drives right now, so I've got to get more drives and all that junk. So let's look at how does a server work. Okay, so it depends. To really understand that, I would have to do another video on that alone. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to explain to you what the differences are between these computers. So if you look right here, and I'll provide links to all this stuff, a file server. This is the first server we're going to go over, right? A file server is different from an FTP server. This type of server is more modern and is typically capable of mapping network drives, network files onto drives. So, like I said, I have 4 drives. Those 4 drives are running a RAID 5, which is a striped configuration. So think of it this way. It takes the data and it puts a little bit on this one, a little bit on this one, a little bit on that one, and a little bit on that one. That's how striped works, okay? So, and you got to remember, though, a centralized computer is a file server that provides file system services to connected clients. Only clients who are allowed to connect to that server or have the privileges to do it. So for instance, mine, I have a username and password, right, that I use on that particular drive. I have a folder inside a fold. So here's the drive, the physical drives. On those drives is a folder. That folder contains all of my videos, right? So I only want certain people to have access to that folder. So I give a username and a password when I set it up. When I set everything up, I had to use a username and password, which is different from everything else. I didn't use any of the same information. So, because you want to make it as secure as possible. Now, see, and if you look right here, it says this means that users can use their home computer's file browser to look into folders, which is what I did right here. If you scroll down, right there it is. But I had to set all this up. I've got it set now to where it just, and if you notice, I had my Unify backup, so that's a backup with my controller. Now, I have all this stuff. I don't have the video file stored off-site yet. I'm working on that. But, I mean, it's going to cost a lot of money to do that, and that's the whole reason I spent money on this. Now, okay, so I have authorization for myself. So if you notice, there is this drive right here. This is a drive. You double click that, there's a file folder. Notice how it says file folder over here. And then you double click on the videos, and there's all of my folders, because I put everything into a folder. Every time I do a video, I take that video and I create a folder with that week's topic. That way I can keep track of things easier. And it also shows the date too right here. So that's pretty cool. So now let's look at the next server is the DNS. Okay, DNSs are imperative, right? Here's what happens. When you go to google.com, your computer is not sending google.com. It is sending the name out to a DNS server, which then takes and has a lookup table. It looks at that table and it says, oh, google.com, we've seen this name before. It's this IP address. So then it resolves the name, or the name to the IP address, so that the computer can communicate. Remember, computers communicate with zeros and ones, not names. So there you go. That's how DNS works. And there is also a reverse and a forward. A forward is name to IP. Reverse is IP to name. And I could do a video on that later. I don't really know that I'm going to. I really don't know. That would take some time to put it together. I may do it, though. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, the next server that you can do is a DHCP server, which so DNS stands for Domain Name Service, right? That's what it stands for. So DHCP stands for Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. So it sounds complicated. It's not. Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. Dynamic means it can move and change, right? Host means it's talking to computers. Configuration. So it's talking and sending a configuration to the machines, right? So essentially it says this. This is what it says right here. So let's look at right over here. Let's go to, whoops, that was the wrong one. Right here, right there. A DHCP, so it configures the network settings for a client machine instead of having to manually configure this. Now, this is what I do for all of my servers. They have a static IP address on everything, which means that name that resolves to IP, I just take the IP and set it at a certain place, and it stays that way. From now on, that way I can get to it. It's easier to find. I know where it is. I know what the address is and everything. Think of an IP address as a means to keep track of something. It communicates. It's a communication address. That's really what it is. It's sort of like your house. Your house has an address, right? So does mine. But I'm not telling nobody what it is. So there you go. But that address is how the post office finds you. It's similar with a DHCP server and a network. The DHCP server hands out the IP address to the client. The client first sends a broadcast message saying, hey, I need an IP address. But it does that with the MAC address, which media access control. It's essentially the physical address given to a interface by the manufacturer. The manufacturers control that. The first three, there's 6 digits. So there's 12 total. The first 6 are the manufacturer ID. The last 6 are for the device itself. It's pretty crazy, actually, because every device in the world that has a network interface card, or NIC, has that, and they're completely unique. It's really crazy. That's a lot. So that's basically what I wanted to tell y'all, right? So eventually we will look at this, probably the file server. I'll go into a lot more detail because I'll do a video on this so that y'all understand. Anyway, that's all, y'all. Peace out. Give it a like and subscribe. The Lord loves you, and so do I. Till next video.